Lessons from History. Means of Ascent, Lyndon Johnson, written by Robert A. Caro. Great biography of a dynamic, swashbuckling American politician who basically ascended from obscurity to become the resident of the White House. Lyndon Johnson's remembered for giving black people the vote. Famously, he decided that he was going to bring about what Abraham Lincoln dreamed of. But I just want to point to something else, because everyone makes such a big thing about democracy. The point about it is it can be manipulated. Now, God knows this, we know that not everyone who climbs the greasy pole and gets to the top is a paragon of virtue. But this character, Lyndon Johnson, was subject to a number of inquiries following his election to the Senate in 1948. He beat the incumbent Senator Coke Stevenson. It was a very, very close election. Now remember the George W. Bush, Al Gore election, which sort of hinged on hanging chads and sort of bespectacled counters trying to check whether, someone had actually pushed out the chad to make their votes down in this district in Florida. And eventually it went to the Supreme Court and Bush became president, and the rest is history, as they say. But let's learn from history, even though that famous saying says we learn from history that we never learn from history. And I think looking back on the most recent referendum, you can see that. This is an amazing photo. It's called Box 13, Precinct 13. These are the buddies of Lyndon Johnson, who basically were crooked and distorted the results of the election. When I was at college down in South Wales, someone who was in the Christian Union, this is very sobering, I'm afraid, chap, I better not say his name. He was so he was more fanatical about the Liberals than he was about the Christian Union. But he invented a candidate from Plaid Cymru called Hugh Ap Dafydd, totally fictional, entered him in the general election and caused the Labour Party to lose the votes because of this fictitious character who was at the college, a student who was not real. Lyndon Johnson arranged for a fictitious precinct where a whole load of votes were put into this box, which these hoodlums, friends of his, created. But what's most interesting about this great statesman, long before he became a candidate for president, was a vice president, and eventually when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, became president, was that he had fixed his election to the Senate. And most amazingly, he boasted about it. And in his wife's bedroom desk, he actually kept this picture of how he had defrauded the electorate. So I don't want everyone to lose faith in democracy. As Churchill said, it's the worst system we've got apart from all the others, and there's some truth in that. But beware of those who say that's the be-all and end-all. You have to have a righteous, trustworthy system, but you also have to have the right electorate. Remember that Hitler was voted in, had a majority vote in Dresden, Nuremberg, and actually the largest vote across the whole country, and became Chancellor on a democratic vote. And remember the Arab Spring, the famous Arab Spring, that brought the Muslim Brotherhood into Egypt. So again, don't look just to, democratic values. Look to righteousness, truth, and justice, and you won't go too far wrong.